Welcome to the Lemoore City Council chambers located at 429 C Street. This is a special meeting for June 26th at 5:30 p.m. Please silence all electronic devices as a courtesy to those in attendance. Thank you. If we can go ahead and do roll call.
Councilmember Garza,
Here.
Councilmember Lyons, Councilmember Orth,
Here.
Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Gornick,
Here.
and Mayor Matthews.
Here. We will go ahead and move on to public comment. Public comment will be in accordance with the attached policy. This time is reserved for members of the audience to address the city council on items of interest that are not on the agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. It is recommended that speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes each, and it is requested that no comments be made during this period on items on the agenda. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda. Prior to addressing the council, any handouts for council will be provided to the city clerk for distribution to the council and appropriate staff. The public will have an opportunity to comment on items on the agenda once the item has been called and the mayor opens the item to the public. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to the consent calendar. We have item 4-1, approval of resolution 2024-23, adopting a list of projects for fiscal year 2024 through 2025, funded by SB1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017. 4-2, approval of resolution 2024-22, revising and updating the master user fee schedule.
No,
And that's it.
Pledge.
What?
I'm not gonna do the pledge.
No, this is a
Okay.
special meeting. Sorry.
Okay.
Um,
Sorry.
does anybody want to pull any of the items from the consent calendar? Anyone from the
Yes.
public? Yep. Which one?
I want to talk about 4.2.
We're going to pull 4-2.
And can I have the agenda rolled up? So is there anything else on the other side?
There's nothing. Is there anyone from the public that would like to pull 4-1? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept 4-1.
So move.
Second it.
I have a motion by Councilmember Gornick and a second by Councilmember Orth. Councilmember Gornick?
Aye.
Councilmember Orth?
Yes.
Councilmember Garza?
Yes.
And I vote yes, passes 4-0. Item 4-2, did you have a specific question on that, sir? Oh, thank you.
This is the
Huge.
4-1.
Thank you. Is this
This is 4.2, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Resolution actually increases by a percentage.
Yeah, I didn't hear you.
There you go.
Hello. The resolution actually increases all the fees by a percentage. The ones, higher percentage, the ones not adjusted since 2020 and more for the rec fees that were adjusted in 2022. So the actual fees are not included in the resolution, but we thought you'd want to see them, see what the impact of
It
it
was included though in the document you sent us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he handed them out at the last.
Right.
meeting. And
These weren't included.
our management analyst, Brandon Reeder is on the Zoom, if you have any questions.
So what's the impact of these fees? What the proposed impact would be on the next fiscal year for these fees? Any idea?
What the
microphone.
What would be
proposed,
the proposed impact on the budget for next fiscal year with these fees?
we broadly estimated in our budget that you'll see later tonight, $100,000 impact on the next fiscal year. I don't know that we've done more analysis to see how that would affect.
Okay.
Could be as high as 200,000. Okay.
Well, would you say minus what?
It could be 100 to 200,000 impact
Okay.
on the general fund in the next year.
That's like 100% increase.
I was gonna say that.
200,000, got even closer than that.
We didn't.
I mean, here's my point. it may be 300,000. I don't know. Is it enough is what I want to know. You know, are we raising them enough to do it? Or are we just raising it just to get by again?
We're raising it by the CPI, so we're basing it on the studies that determine the cost then, and then the law allows us to adjust those by the CPI.
Yeah,
So that's
so-
the highest we can really raise them without conducting a whole new study.
But the documents that you sent us said we hadn't raised them for a number of years.
4 years, so we're,
Right.
that's
And-
why the adjustment is so high. I think it's about 16 to 18% on
okay.
those that were 4 years old.
Also, can I interject? There's supposed to be a difference in needs, or did I receive the same one?
Oh, you got the same ones.
Same ones.
Two of the same one, yes.
What you got? Which one you have?
The big one, and he didn't get this one.
Oh, I didn't get the small one.
Thank you. Well,
So I'm just gonna be the bad guy here. In my opinion, I personally I don't want to do this, but I want to table it again because I didn't get this in my packet. And I'm just getting it now sitting here, which is the same issue that we had last week of getting the information when we sit down to,
Yeah.
I'm not able to review it. So
are
if
you asking for a motion?
that's my recommendation that we table this one.
Motion or recommend?
Do I need consensus or a motion?
A motion to table.
Okay, I'll make a motion to
I'll
table
second it.
item 4-2 to the
I'll
next
second
regular
that.
scheduled meeting.
That you don't need to take public. You don't need to take public comment on this because it will come back and the public will have an opportunity to comment then.
Thank you. So I have a motion by me and a second by Councilmember Orth.
Yeah.
Councilmember Orth,
Table it.
You need a roll call vote. If you got a second.
No, yeah.
Sorry, table it.
Yeah, there was a motion to table in a second, so the mayor's gonna go through and get an eye from everybody.
But you don't, oh, okay. I didn't think you had to do it once you got a second.
Councilmember Orth,
Yes.
Councilmember Garza,
Yes.
Councilmember Gornick.
Yeah.
And I vote yes as well. Cool. Sorry, Mr. Reader. I apologize.
No, that's. We need to have the
So
information.
on the parks, facility rental fees. Did we run any deficits this last year, or a couple of years in these areas, or?
I think,
I mean,
is
were we-
Brendan the one handling this?
Ray Granley did the recreation fees, and Brandon
And you
kind
guys
of
just
coordinated
tabled it.
the whole resolution update.
I'm just gonna ask if you guys hold your questions till the next meeting since we did just table it.
Oh,
I
I
apologize.
thought there were two separate. Okay.
No, that's one item. Yeah.
They're both- But
I have no
what we're
problem.
trying to do is
Yeah.
put all our fees in one so we can update them every year, so we don't fall behind and we stay current.
Makes sense.
Makes all the
With
sense
the
in the world.
council's approval, we can put that back on the July 2nd agenda and have it
Absolutely.
with time to review.
Thank you. Moving on to public hearing 5-1, public hearing approval of resolution 2024-21, adopting the budget for fiscal year July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, providing for the appropriation and expenditure of all sums set forth in said budget, providing for the transfers and additional appropriations, and repealing all resolutions and parts of the resolutions in conflict herewith. I'm not sure why that 9 is there, but Mr. Northcliffe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. As you know, we've had a budget study session. We've had the budget committee composed of the mayor and Councilmember Lyons spent extensive time. I think you had about 3 meetings at least, and you've had follow-up meetings as well to look more thoroughly at the budget. We're at the point, we're 4 days from the end of the fiscal year, so it's tonight's is a recommendation to approve the proposed budget. There we go. The budget is, as you know, is comprised of a lot of functioning funds, 71 funds. Our total budget seems fairly large. Proposed expenditures are $62 million. We are proposing some capital items that will reduce that have been money saved up for the capital items. So the revenues are less than that, but when you include capital items that you've saved for several years, the revenue versus expenditure kind of doesn't become very meaningful. the end of the year, we're proposing at least $62 million in funds available. Most of those funds, as you know, are enterprise funds from our utility accounts. In terms of proposed allocations, we have 5 we're reducing, 10 we're adding. Actually, much of the 10 are 7 are for the dispatch, since we're eliminating the contract with the city of Hanford and the county for our dispatching and radio services. If you subtract those 7, we're actually down 2 full-time employees from the current fiscal year. In terms of the general fund, as you know, there was extraordinary efforts, direction by the city council and efforts by the staff to reduce expenses this year, really starting last year. So both last year and this year came well under budget. As a result, rather than a fund balance in the general fund that we one time anticipated would be down to 8 million, we actually have close to 12 million in that, almost 13 million in that general fund savings account, if you will. The beginning balance of the fund is almost 13 million. The proposed revenues are 13.7, proposed expenditures 16.4. I'm sorry, proposed revenues 13, proposed expenditures 16.5. Initial difference of almost $3 million. If you continue down, we are proposing, and this may be a little bit confusing because it wasn't included in the original budget, but we had to get to the end to find out where we were, and then we made some additional recommendations to you, and these are what contained and being recommended to you this evening, which is including a quarter of the sales tax generation, should that be placed on the ballot and approved in November, including the expenses of the master user fee increase that we talked about just a bit ago. We're only including 100,000, so that may be conservative on that. And also, as we've had in the past, our revenues have generally come in higher than expected, and our expenditures have come in lower. So we're assuming those two together will produce about $800,000 in savings, and we're recommending that be incorporated in the budget and reported to you on our quarterly how well we're doing on saving that money in the next fiscal year. That drops the remaining difference down to 890,000. But if you look at the extraordinary savings we had this year, together with expenditures expected this year and proposed for next year, it ends up a 2-year, if you look at it in a 2-year perspective, that we actually are positive $942,000 in our budget. That's why I'm wearing black tonight. In a way, the budget's in the black. Couple other things. The general fund, as I think you're all aware, we also went through, as we did, we recognized we can't afford things that we normally would be funding, and some of these are here. They represent about $2.5 million of things that we deferred because of the lack of income. 2 critical ones: there's no cost of living increase for any employee in this fiscal year or next fiscal year. And the asset replacement fund, which funded cities normally put money aside every year for equipment, for buildings, for roofing, for air conditionings, for painting, all those sort of things to maintain our assets so we don't have jumps when those become necessary. We've not been able to do that in the past, and we're not able to do it this year, but we are indicating about $500,000 would be appropriate to go into that type of fund. In terms of the enterprise funds, the water fund has spending a little bit more, spending almost $2 million in capital improvements, so a little bit more expenditures and revenue. I think somewhat we're optimistic that we're gonna be able to complete all these projects in the next fiscal year, but it's better to aim high, and so we are trying to do that. We end up having a continuing fund balance at the end of the fiscal year estimated at $11.5 million. The wastewater fund has more capital improvements, over $5 million of capital improvements proposed. So the fund balance would be impacted quite a bit. It goes from 9 million to 4 million. But that means we're doing a lot of projects proposed. In the refuse fund, less capital items is basically vehicles. We're proposing one vehicle. So the difference of revenue and expenditures is only $8,000 in that fund. Be happy to answer any questions. As we indicated, this is the appropriate time for the council to consider approval of the budget for fiscal year 25.
Now, I have a question. We are investing money from all these different enterprise funds and all that. Is any of that projected revenue from the investments put into these?
Yes, about,
So it goes into the projection of the revenue?
yes, in each fund, it goes in that. In the general fund, it's 400,000 or 500,000, I think we're projecting.
And yeah, I understand it has to go back into that account, but what I'm asking is this proposed revenue, is it
Yes. It will-
takes in consideration the, I don't know, $100,000 that the money
Yeah.
makes?
In some of the.
Oh, I
funds
didn't
are
see the
quite a bit.
interest.
It
Okay,
would
yeah.
be, the 2.4 million, which is now 2.6 million, we're estimating will make an interest in the next year is prorated out to every fund proportionally based on what amount of funds they
Money is
have
in each fund
to invest.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a couple.
You have a list?
Sorry, I missed the last meeting.
No worries.
So, I'm gonna start with the, call center. That was the
Dispatch center?
dispatch center, call center, yeah. When are we proposing to stop that contract with Hanford? And
I asked him this morning, it was October 1, unless it's changed.
That's projection dates. I mean, sometime around there. We're still just waiting on the network really to be finished building out. Motorola has to put an antenna up and then we have to hire dispatchers.
Okay.
Gotta hire and get them trained. So it's the best guesstimate.
And this may be a question for Frank too. I don't know. Does that tower need any guide wires?
Thinking they would have done that if they had.
No, sir. It's done. It's all just bolted.
There's
No guy wires.
no codes for guide wires or anything?
Nope,
Okay,
not for that size.
okay.
We were asking this morning about how we're gonna get the antenna up there. Someone physically climbs it. There's a
Yeah.
rope supporting them. Got no volunteers from the staff to do that.
I know you can get them for about $300 an hour.
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah, good
Uh,
luck.
Good
the,
training opportunity.
Thank you for that. Since we got this page up here about the refuse fees, I noticed that it says 2024 was the last year for rate increases. So we had an increase in 2024, right? Okay.
There were, before we got on council, there was a rate increase put in place and the last of those increases happened in 2024.
Okay. So is there, is it the city manager's intention to ask for a rate increase in 25?
Yes, I think what we're planning on doing, what the state, as you know, is expecting us to go to weekly collection on all three cans. And that will cause an increase in costs, and we'll do the study at that time and recommend a rate increase. Because we're anticipating that'll happen sometime this fall,
Oh,
or at least in the next fiscal
so
year.
one of the issues I have with this, with the budget is that we discussed for a number of months the outsourcing the refuse.
Mhm.
And I don't think we ever got a good picture of what that impact would be on our budget. And one of the discussions that we had up here was that, well, we might have to end up raising fees anyway. And so my concern is that you want us to propose a budget, but it looks like we're going to ask for a fee increase anyway. Whether we were outsourcing or whether we were staying in-house, we were going for a rate increase. And on top of that, we're also asking for the citizens to increase sales tax as well. And we're proposing a deficit budget. I know you think about it over 2 years, but it's still a deficit budget. So that's the issue I have with it, is that, you know, if we're only out $800-some thousand, then I think we need to look a little harder to find that before we can do it, at least in my opinion, to approve a balanced budget.
I think when council decided to table that, while there was some savings, there wasn't significant savings and going to the general fund to, I'll say for me, to weigh getting rid of a whole department. That was my thinking. So that's why we tabled it. And also the refuse department was here and did say that they could do it for the same amount of money. So I'm hoping that that is the case and that we don't ask for a rate increase.
But that's my point. We never really looked at those proposals to see what the impact would be on our fiscal year. So, you know, we're never going to get any fiscal discipline unless we decide to get disciplined about our fiscal operation. It's real simple. So we're increasing fees on rentals and facilities. We're asking the citizens to increase the taxes, and we're still proposing a unbalanced budget. That's all I have.
Any other comments or questions from council?
I want to piggyback off of what Frank just said. It was tabled. Is there ever going to be any conversations about that again, or is it we just not?
Well, I think the consensus was that we never gave our refuse department the opportunity to get into 1383 compliance. So it was the consensus at the time that we would give them that opportunity, and the tools that were previously adopted in the budget weren't purchased. So we had said to give them the tools and give them an opportunity.
But was it tabled or was it just, it was,
Right.
it wasn't, I don't think the word table is the right. It was tabled. It was, the project came up for us approval. We denied it. So it's not tabled. It's done. We're gonna give our refuse guys the opportunity to prove to us that they can do it. They promised they could do it. We had to give them the tools. They're gonna give them the tools. That's what we did. And so moving forward, in my opinion, the savings that we're gonna get to the general fund wasn't enough to risk getting rid of eight or 10 employees.
And to be honest,
But-
it was we're getting rid of a whole department that if we got rid of, we could never get back.
Yeah.
So
And that was scary.
Mhm.
So,
I was just concerned because we didn't actually fully let them, because when we tabled it, we kind of said, okay, go back and you guys bring us what your bid and what your savings is going to be. Not that I want to get rid of a whole department, but we probably should have just looked at what could be offered. But if it was, like you said, if it's not a hearing more than.
I don't remember that
that.
discussion at the council where we said that, where they came forward and said we could do it if you let us have.
You weren't at that
you weren't at
meeting.
the
That's why, yeah.
That's why I didn't remember.
Yeah.
That's exactly. So
You have
that's,
an excuse.
there was 4 of us here. Wasn't there 4?
Mhm.
4 of us was here, and there was an actual agenda item, and it, Frank, so you know, there was an agenda item, and a motion came up to basically not approve what they wanted to do.
Yeah, but I guess here's my point. It's okay for them to come up and say, this is what we want to do. But we never evaluated each of those 4 proposals or a proposal with them doing it and an increase.
Because we never
know,
got the proposal. We didn't authorize the RFP. It never went out for an RFP.
Yeah.
We only had the one proposal.
Yeah, but my point is, I guess if we were to do it again, I would, if the in-house people wanted to do it, if they said, maybe they would come to us and say, you know, that fee that you're proposing in 24, that we did last year, and we need another one this year, but it needs to be this amount for us to do it. To me, that would make much more sense for us to discuss it rationally, as opposed to saying there's $1.3 million right there that we would save if we had outsourced the refuse,
Well, I'm sure,
right?
yes, I'm sure moving forward, we can, if we are gonna look at a proposed raising rates again, any city manager would probably have them create what they can do, and we could instruct a city manager to have them do a presentation at council about that, right? Marion? So we could instruct the city manager to say, hey, we want you to have the guys or the staff tell us what they need. And to be honest with you, I'd be 100% behind having that done. So we don't just willy-nilly say we want 10% or whatever. I just made up that number. And they need 11%. So I would be on board with that, but I
Yeah.
mean, our staff didn't have all the tools that they were asking for to do their job either. Now they have GPS trucks where now we can track where they're at now.
They will have, yes, next
Yeah,
year.
have. Yeah, so
Any other questions or comments from council? I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there any public comment on this item? Do we have any online question? No. I'll bring it back to council. Any other questions? And close the public hearing. Oops. I just have one recommendation personally. I would like to see the removal of the assistant city manager position from the budget. I think in a city our size, it's an unnecessary position.
I would agree with that.
I'd rather see those reallocated to
I mean, that's
director or two.
possibly $200,000 savings.
About 150, I think. The reason it was left in was to give the flexibility for the new city manager to maybe use that funds and reorganize it. And look, we're down to 2 department heads, so there's some future city manager may well want to make some changes, but they can bring that to you and request it at that time. It doesn't have to be in this budget. If the position is frozen, then we're not recruiting for it.
Well, do we want to use the word frozen, or do we want to? Is your suggestion to freeze it or
Cut it out.
My
Cut it out.
suggestion is to eliminate it.
eliminate it?
Mhm.
That would be just eliminate it, and we're all 5 of us are reasonable council. If a city manager that we hire comes to us and says, I need help here, and here, we've never told them no. Wow, we did for the trash, but that's a different story. My bad.
I mean, I think we
have
know
said
that
no,
we
but-
do need
Not a correct director.
more directors,
Right,
so
that's not
that,
correct. We have said no, but
that's not an
for the
issue.
most part, we can figure out how to get that city manager the help
Well,
they need.
I'm gonna go ahead and just make a motion to approve the resolution as written, including the removal. Sir? Oh, let me reopen the public hearing for you.
Yeah, I think you've introduced an issue that we haven't been able to discuss, and that is assistant city manager.
Mhm.
I don't know that you have to eliminate the assistant city manager position. You just recognize that that position is vacant, and at whatever period of time, then you can reallocate those funds. And then with the next budget, if it's still not needed, you can leave it needed. So my recommendation would leave it over, but just then have the funds available for other uses. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead and close the public hearing again. Does anybody have a different recommendation? I'm still standing with mine respectfully.
Right? Or is there somebody else?
No, it's up to you.
Okay.
You got the floor.
I just think I'm just talking about questions I have about the budget. I'm not telling you what to cut or what to
Mhm.
do. These are just unanswered questions that I wasn't able to get. Number one, I was absent, but also there was no process. Although the budget meetings were well intended, there was really no follow-up meetings other than how the budget meetings going. Oh, they're going really good, So, I think we're kind of micromanaging up here if we want to start pulling positions out, but, I kind of agree with our public comment that, leave it in the budget. Let's see what the new city manager wants to do, go from there.
I believe you had a motion pending. The mayor made a motion.
I heard what Mr. Reed says. I really want a goal to get to a balanced budget and having $150,000 in a budget that we don't know if the city manager is going to use it, not use it, whatever. I too agree that I think it needs to be eliminated and we can go forward. I disagree, Frank, respectfully in the micromanaging aspect. This is our job. Our job is to,
Our job is to approve budgets that's balanced.
exactly.
That's my
And,
opinion.
so I think getting there by helping this, I will second the mayor's, motion. And we'll just kind of go from there.
You have a second here.
I have a motion and a second. Councilmember Orth,
Yes.
Councilmember Garza,
I kind of like our public comment, so I don't want to eliminate the position. I don't want to fund it right now because we can't afford it, but I think it needs to be there for future, but. as
well,
you
it's in the
said, Frank-
budget, so it's there.
What's that?
It's in the budget, so it's there.
Yeah. I'll approve. Yes.
Councilmember Gornick,
No,
and I vote yes. 3-1. And we have no new business and we're not going to do the city council reports and requests. Those are usually for regular meeting, but I am going to have Mr. Reed report on the mosquito abatement meeting because he will not be here next week.
It was approval.
Okay.
Thank you. We had a meeting of the mosquito abatement district. We had also the budget, which was approved, and also salaries, and we're still waiting on some grant money that will be used to pay off our facility. So that's it. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you, sir. Have a great trip. And with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn into closed session. We have one item, Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Appointment, Employment, City, or Title, City Manager.